You are watching Q-Chat, Creative Health During Times of Stress, featuring Shiloh Langlois. Q-Chat is a program offered by LGBTQ Student Services, which is housed under the Intercultural Resource Center on the Rutgers University Newark campus. This program was originally held on April 15, 2020. We have modified this video to match a 15-minute format. If you have any questions, please contact LGBTQ Student Services. Our information is listed at the end of this video.
All right, so as I mentioned, my name is Shiloh, they, them, their pronouns. I also wanted to make a note that I appreciate all of your patience. I know things are really wild right now with Zoom, at least they are for my classes. Every morning starts with a struggle. Also, I apologize for being in my room. I have other people working from home in different parts of my house, but you get to see my art on the wall, so hopefully you'll forgive me for that. Anyhow, back to the topic of interest. My goal today is to provide you with some simple and easy and fun art therapy directives that you can use independently at home to relieve stress and to help you get through crisis. I have my contact info below. I'll share it again at the end in case you have any further questions. I also have a link at the end to Rutgers Counseling Center. So if you all are feeling like you need to speak with a counselor, you will be able to access that through here, or you can, of course, access it through the Rutgers website as well. So let's go to the next slide, Mel. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to share with you all is called a sketch diary. I am not one that has been a typically very excited about journaling. I do like to write, but I'm not nearly as proficient and wonderful as Mel is about that. So what I have been doing and what a lot of my classmates are doing is keeping a sketch diary. So once a week, sometimes even all I can do is once a month, no stress. I'll just make a really quick drawing about what I'm going through and maybe make a few notes. And this actually really helps me to solidify what I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing that day or that week. So like the first one you see, there's this like hairy, scary monster ball and it says "rawr," and I'm saying, well, fuck, because at that particular week, I was struggling with a lot of internal processing and struggling with some deep emotions that I was discussing in therapy. So this was my feeling. The second one is a rooster because I was sitting for a friend of mine's animals and there was this rooster that attacked me every day. I went in there. And then the last one is just sort of a mantra that I have that helps me feel stable. And so I wanted to create that and look at it because it helps solidify it in my mind. So that's one idea you can do is if you don't feel like you have the time or the energy to journal, just scribble something on a piece of paper. And it doesn't have to look pretty. These I've done like super fast, but it helps me to feel like I'm grounded in something and I can look at a page and my thoughts and my emotions are clearer to me.
Can I ask a question, Shiloh?
Oh, show.
I know that, and I'm someone who journals pretty much every day, but I know a lot of people have anxiety around the sort of like idea that there's a requirement that you do it every day. Like, how do you use it within your kind of like everyday weekly life? Like, what does that look like? Is it when you're experiencing an emotion, or do you do like a kind of set time where you just sit down and sketch for your sketch diary?
It's both. When I first began the sketch diary, you'll see I have like week 1, week 2. I would do just once a week. And it didn't matter what day, what time, I would just put the pencil to the paper and just scribble something. And sometimes it wasn't as coherent as this. Like sometimes it was literally just a ball of black ink. That's okay. I would say, I think the challenge is deciding if what's best for you is having structure or not. I can tell you having the structure for the first time I did it, like do once a week did help me to get into the routine of it. But at this point, I just do it when I want to, which is often several times a week. Or, sometimes I may want to do it just a few times a month, depending on where I'm at emotionally. So I think that the trick with this is to try to find a way to where it feels rewarding and not like an obligation and not like you have to punish yourself if you don't do it. That's the tricky part is not putting pressure or an expectation on ourselves and just making it fun.
And I think too, the other thing that I always come up against when I'm talking with people about, the type of journaling I do, which is writing, is that oftentimes people say, well, I'm not a writer. So I think sometimes when you get like those fancy journals at the bookstore or whatever, you think, oh, I have to, the thoughts have to be, poetry, basically. But
Right.
I think, you are an artist. But I think, could you talk a little bit about the expectation around, like, obviously you're coming to this, well, not obviously, that's not fair to say. Perhaps you're coming to this sketching the way that you would sketch, or doodling the way that you would doodle without the expectation of artistry. I don't know. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that comes up a lot too around anxiety of like putting things down on paper.
Yeah, so let me correct me if I'm wrong. I hear you saying you want me to speak on coming as an artist, and what that experience is like sketching and not having an expectation to meet a certain criteria. Is that what you're asking?
Close. It's more kind of like, um, sometimes folks just have a lot of anxiety around who they think they are in relation to the
Ah.
skill. So I'm a writer. I journal every day. I write
Mhm.
poetry. I don't get that anxiety around the journal. But when I work
Mhm.
with students who are just starting to do like journaling and writing, they think, what would I even say? Because they think that it
Ah,
has to be, you know, I don't know,
yes.
journal worthy or whatever. So how would you work through that too? Because I imagine that would like hold people up.
Absolutely. And this is something that I see in graduate school a lot because, believe it or not, a lot of art therapists are not actually artists. We obviously know how to do art and we learn these directives and these techniques, but many of them do not really do art as a critical component of who they are, and they don't identify as artists. The point is that the creative process does something to the brain, and it allows us to release emotions and to feel better. So I think perhaps at that point, challenging ourselves, and saying, okay, what do I think an artist is? What do I think a writer is? Because whatever that perception is, if you have to kind of question that, I think you're already putting some parameters around what it is. I think a better question to ask us is, hmm, this is this one's multifaceted, Mel. It's a lot to answer. I think if we can find a way of releasing that expectation or that idea of what or who an artist is. And in terms of art, like I say, I can reassure you that plenty of artists or plenty of art therapists are not artists at all. So if you have that expectation that you have to create art like Da Vinci or like me or someone else, don't. And in fact, I'll show you some of the directives in the future that are done by people who are not artists, or not sure if they would identify as an artist, but they've created art, and you can see what their art looks like. And so hopefully that'll give you a helpful, like realistic idea of how to use these directives, regardless of where you feel like you're at in terms of your artistic ability. Does that make sense, Mel?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Absolutely. We can go to the next one if you want. Okay, so is what I'm talking about here. Let me show y'all. All right, so my little sister, who actually is artistic, um, did this directive with me. This is called the Scribble method, which I will show you all and allow you all to do this directive towards the end. So with the Scribble method, if you look to the image to the left, you you close your eyes and you put your pencil or your pen or whatever it is to the paper, and you literally just make a scribble. You don't worry about it. You just let your hand go. And then at some point you open your eyes and you look at it, and what you want to do is turn that scribble different ways until it starts to form an image to you. And what's freaky about this exercise is the majority of times that I do it, whether it's with myself or with friends or loved ones, whatever comes up is what's like uh, most prevalent in our lives right now. It could be like our primary emotion, our primary struggle, and it usually helps us feel better about that. Almost like you're bringing something from the unconscious to the conscious, and it helps you to understand what that experience is. For example, in this drawing, my sister has been learning. She likes to dance, so she's been learning how to twerk, and she's really good at it. So in the image to the right, she ended up drawing herself twerking, and you can see her butt right there. It's great. And then what was funny is I was going to do another directive with her. So actually, the first image you see was the second image. So she did a scribble for the first image, but you don't see that here. The first image is the second one she did, and she goes, it looks like a person twerking again, so I'm just going to go twerk. So anyways, my point is it can be really funny, it can be really exciting, it can also be really freaky, but usually it's very cathartic. So let's give some more examples. Mel, if you can go to the next slide. Okay, so here are some of my examples. And again, please do not try to do like this if it's your first try. I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm showing you these because I want to give you an example of the different kinds of things that come from our brains. Like the very top two, I was experiencing some difficult emotions around my identity. The right one specifically in relation to my experience with disability and identity, and then the left one related to my struggle with eating. I was in a addictions course for my counseling degree, and it made me really reflect on my own processes and what I want to change. And so this kind of scary image of this hungry monster showed up. And then there's a really cute one named Terry the turnip fly on the bottom. And then there's a really cool one of flowers. So whenever I was doing these exercises, all of them I could link all of them consciously to something that was going on, even if I was unconscious of it before. So again, these can be a lot of fun. They can be super simple or super intricate. And I'll work through this process with you when we get a little bit towards the end and have some more time to let you guys play with this. Let's go to the next one, Mel, if you don't mind. And again, if y'all have questions, just hop in. Okay, mandalas are the second directive I wanted to share with you all. Mandalas are really, really old. They are not something new to us. They are not unique to art therapy. You can find lots of information about mandalas in many different cultures, especially in India and Tibet. But again, these have been used by indigenous cultures and cultures from all over the world. So it's not unique just to art therapy. But mandalas were actually brought into art therapy by Carl Jung. And the idea is to create an image that is encased in a circle. That's literally the only rule. Like you create whatever image is coming to you, and you have it contained in a circle. And having it contained, I can tell you from my experience, makes me feel like there's safety or like there's a groundedness to whatever is in the middle of that mandala. This morning, for example, if you looked at the one to the left, I did a super simple mandala while I was drinking my coffee. And there's kind of the star in the middle, and then there's like the sun, star, heart, moon. And I realized that as I was doing that, when I looked at it, when I was there, I was like, oh, this is my day. I feel like there's this circular pattern that I'm aware of, and I'm trying to stay positive, which is like this big star in the center. And the circle around it just gives it this sense of containment or like boundaries or safety. And it helps people feel more whole and just integrate experiences that they're going through. So again, the only requirement is you have a circle around it and something in the middle. It doesn't have to be symmetrical. And you can get really wild with it. Like the one on the right is a painting that I did in acrylic of a dragon eye. And I started with the circle originally in the center, and then obviously I branched out and did some other things too. But that's another example of mandala if you want to get a bit more complex with it.
Thank you for watching our video. If you have any questions regarding the techniques or methods discussed during this video, please contact Shiloh Lingua. If you have any questions regarding QChat or other LGBTQ programming, please contact LGBTQ Student Services at diversity@newark.rutgers.edu. Thank you.